It's May 15th already. We're almost done half the year. The pandemic has stolen so much time, hasn't it? And it will steal so much more than that before it's done. One of the things that derailed, or at least detracted from, is the Conservative Party's leadership contest to succeed Andrew Shearer, who stepped down after a disappointing showing in the October federal election. He said he planned to stay on, but then there were rumblings in the caucus against him. The whole balloon just popped when it was revealed that he had been secretly pocketing donations from the party to cover his own children's private school costs and other personal expenses. It's not so much that he was taking those secret payments from the party. I think all parties have expense accounts for their leaders. It's not just that Shearer, as opposition leader, was already making more than $250,000 a year, plus expenses, plus travel, plus an MP's office in the riding and in Ottawa, plus living expenses, plus. I mean, that made it gross. I think it was that when you're a conservative and you publicly and loudly and with a straight face condemn Justin Trudeau for secretly enriching himself, whether it's Trudeau putting his 2 nannies on the public dime, I guess that's not in secret, or Trudeau taking a secret illegal $100,000 vacation on the Aga Khan's private island or the Bahamas, or secretly spending millions to renovate the lake house, as Trudeau's doing. When you condemn all that excess and grift and graft, and then you're caught doing the same thing all along, there's really nothing left for you to say or do. It's like when a televangelist gets caught having an affair, it just doesn't work anymore. So Andrew Shearer jumped before he was pushed, and he quit. But then, I don't know how it happened, he just flipped around and decided to stay on as leader until whenever, to continue to take his leader's salary top up, to take the official residence stolen away, to take the extra limo, the extra staff, be in charge of choosing the shadow cabinet, promoting or punishing backbench MPs. So it was a resignation for some time in the future because he's still the leader today. One reason why that's a problem is that it confuses the party's message and branding. Is Shearer gone or not? Is it still his party to shape or not? Is Shearer's trademark communication style boring, passive, deferential, timid? Is that still the nature of the party? Seriously, what conservative with a pulse would prefer someone like Shearer instead of someone like Pierre Poilievre?
How many prisoners received their emergency benefit check? The Honourable Minister. If I may, to go further, I'd like to thank the member for his question. 7.7 million Canadians received emergency benefit. Mr. Poilievre.
7 million Canadians are in jail? The question was, how many prisoners have received the benefit check?
Monsieur le Ministre.
Honourable Minister, listen, we can make jokes about what's happening to Canadian, but many of them are suffering with this crisis. Mr. Poilievre.
CBC is saying that prisoners are receiving the check. They can't have lost their job. They were already in prison. Simple question. How many prisoners have received the checks?
The Honourable Minister. Chair, I'd like to remind members in this House that we're talking about a very serious situation, and some people are unable to make ends meet. These are emergency measures. Mr. Poilievre. We're doing the work that Canadians expect us to do.
Have received the checks.
The Honourable Minister. Chair, I've already explained to the member and I'm happy to remind him once again that this benefit is an emergency one. Mr. Poilievre.
The Auditor General says that he's dropping half of his audits because the government refuses to provide him funding. The government has enough money to send 200,000 fraudulent applicants emergency checks. Why won't the government give the Auditor General the funding he requests?
The Honourable Minister. I'd like to thank the member for his question, and I'd like to talk about the role that institutions play in this emergency situation, including the role of the Auditor General. And we're going to continue to support him because he allows us to do things properly. Mr. Poilievre.
The Auditor General have to do to get the money to do his audits? Does he have to file a bunch of fraudulent applications for an emergency response benefit?
I just want to remind the honourable members to place their questions through the chair, not directly to the members, and answer directly. The
Honourable Minister. Chair, I know the member, and I know that he doesn't want to give the impression that the Auditor General has to be fraudulent to correctly do his job. Mr. Poilievre.
That's why he should get the money he needs to do his job. He was doing twice as many audits under the previous government than he is now, but doesn't have the money to do the audits he needs to keep an eye on this government's extraordinary spending. So yes or no, will the government give the Auditor General the funding he has requested so that he can get back to doing the same number of audits he did under the much more robust funding of the previous Harper government?
Yeah. Thing is, when Shearer is the party leader, though, he gets to be top dog. He gets to eat first when it comes to media coverage. So the contenders for the leadership, well, they have to try and get the scraps when Shearer is done. Same with any MPs, even Pierre Poilievre. And all the bad judgment Andrew Shearer showed, he's still showing it. I think there's a non-zero chance Trudeau will call an election soon, and Andrew Shearer will have to run again as party leader because the Conservative election might not yet be done. So Shearer will lose again. In the 2019 election, we criticized Andrew Shearer, who is indistinguishable from Trudeau on key issues, such as open borders immigration, the theory of man-made global warming, or at least the UN's role in fixing it, and the need to achieve some industrial reductions because some bureaucrats and diplomats meeting in Paris 4 years ago said we have to. Shearer was a lukewarm proponent of oil and gas. He certainly didn't go toe-to-toe with any anti-oil extremists. He actually refused to criticize Trudeau on immigration and literally announced his policy on the fly when being pestered a bit by Rosemary Barton and the CBC. I'm serious. He had gone the entire campaign without saying what level of immigration he wanted, and then some CBC hack just pesters him, and he immediately does whatever she tells him to do.
But you still didn't give a number, and you would have to set a target as government. That's part of your job, is to set a government. So if a level. So if the target right now is 350,000 immigrants by 2021, is that about what you're looking at? Or
I think that's reasonable. Yeah, and again, as long as that's coming from facts, from evidence, from a look at the situation and an understanding of where our society has needs, then absolutely.
Yeah, not really hard to see how he lost the election. Sorry, I just wish he would go already so the party could get on with things. Real talk, who is a more effective counterweight to Trudeau today? Whether it's on the pandemic or foreign policy towards China or oil and gas or the carbon tax, Andrew Shearer or a provincial premier named Jason Kenney? Well, enough griping by me. We are now awaiting a new dawn for the party, except the party doesn't seem to be very focused on it. Almost the opposite. Here's the party's homepage. Pretty tough to find any information about the leadership race. There's that one big link there to buy a membership for the leadership, and I clicked on it, and it indeed will let you buy a membership. And I mentioned that because today is the deadline to buy a membership if you want to be eligible to vote, so do that if you like. But there's nothing else about the race on that page. You just can't find it. None of those main tabs across the top either. Take action, about us, news, team. Where's the excitement? You got something else going on? You have to go to that little hamburger in the top right. That's the website jargon for those 3 lines that open up a menu. You have to go there to find it, and then click on it, and then can you still even find it? You have to go there, Leadership 2020. It says if you click on that, and then you get this page in very small fine print, a boring memo about the race being reconvened. And again, you have to hunt very hard to even find a list of the candidates. And here they are, finally. Leslyn Lewis, Peter MacKay, Erin O'Toole, and Derrick Sloan. I've interviewed 2 of them, Leslyn Lewis and Derrick Sloan. Both Erin O'Toole and Peter MacKay told our journalists personally to their face that they would do interviews with us, but they didn't keep their promise. They didn't do an interview in person or even via Skype. Peter MacKay in particular was really, really weird about it when our David Menzies talked to him.
So David, there's no questions?
I just got to see if I can ask him one.
There's no questions.
No questions. You guys are preventing me from interviewing. I just want to ask one question, not even an interview.
There's no media.
It's a question on freedom of speech.
You're welcome to get a photo. There's no questions.
So under Peter MacKay, it'll be the same as Andrew Shearer, that the rebel is not allowed to be here?
You're here, aren't you? Excuse me.
Here, but I'm going to ask a question. Yes. Hi, Mr. MacKay. How you doing? Just want to ask you, sir, what do you feel about Ezra Levant being interrogated by the elections commissioner?
Everybody being interrogated, including right now. So,
Yeah, if you're afraid of David Menzies, who's a really nice guy, no tricks, no gotcha questions, just basic questions. If you're terrified of the Menzoid, there's a small chance you might not be ready to take on Justin Trudeau and his media party escorts. But back to the 4 candidates. Why just 4? And really, this isn't me giving a critique on the website. We have problems with our own website. Everyone does, I guess. It's got that easy to remember domain name, cpc-leadership2020.ca. That's easy to remember. It's almost like they don't want a leadership race. $300,000 entry fee for candidates, the highest I've ever seen in my life. Andrew Shearer still taking up all the airtime, still taking all the media interviews. And the worst part of it is, any candidates who dare to be edgy, whether you like them or not, whether you agree with them or not, they've been disqualified by some unnamed party bureaucrats in some closed-door hearing. First, it was Richard DeCarey, a former advisor to Stephen Harper, who had views on LGBTQ and abortion that these party insiders simply rejected, and so they banned him from running. Hang on, isn't the point of a contest to contest things? As in, let's have opposing ideas, different ideas, put forward by different people, and we'll all make the final decision after a campaign in a vote. Why would some secret insiders say, nope, you can't make your case? If the ideas were so bad, though, why wouldn't they let party voters prove that they were bad ideas by resoundingly rejecting the man and his ideas? How odd that was. It frankly reminded me of how Justin Trudeau just simply bans any pro-life Catholics from running in his party, just bans them. But at least he's the party leader, and Liberals knew what they were getting with him, and they all sort of hate pro-life Catholics over there at the Liberal Party anyways. But why is this happening in the Conservatives, and by whom? It doesn't make any sense, but alas, it happens again. First DeCarey, and now Jim Kerr Helios, longtime Conservative Party activist in Ontario provincially, especially fighting against the carbon tax, fighting against Patrick Brown's political corruption. Kerr Helios was simply kicked out of the race too. I like Jim, and I interviewed him twice, I think. Nice guy. I don't know if he's a party leader type, frankly, as much as an activist gadfly type. Frankly, I'd like to see him working at Rebel News more than running a political party, which by definition requires traits like compromise and team building. I think Jim is a troublemaking activist, which is why I like him. And again, he was sacked, removed from the race, not by party members in a vote, but because he criticized Erin O'Toole's campaign chairman. How obscure and inside baseball is that? O'Toole's campaign chairman is Waleed Solomon, a lawyer, political fixer, and Muslim activist. Solomon was one of the closest advisors to the disgraced former leader of the Ontario PC party, Patrick Brown. And Solomon has been a proponent of Sharia law compliant financing in Canada. And Kerr Helios criticized that rather gently, I think, in a campaign email. Well, Erin O'Toole complained to that weird secret Conservative Party committee, the same one that banned DeCarey. And so they banned Kerr Helios too. He's in court today fighting that ban, by the way. I wouldn't bet against him winning. My point is, shouldn't party members get to decide all these things? If DeCarey and Kerr Helios and anyone else said things that should be unsayable, why is the party trying to make this contest as obscure and small and lifeless and boring as possible in everything from the extreme entry fee to the bizarre hidden website to firing candidates in secret meetings? I just don't get it. It's almost, if the thing was being run by an agent of Trudeau, I'm not sure what would be done differently if it were. I will say what bothers me even more than the firing of those candidates is that Erin O'Toole and presumably Waleed Solomon himself were the complainers who tattled to the party, asking the party to ban their competitor. That is far more troubling to me. It's a sign of weakness and whininess, a sign of poor character, I think. For some reason, it reminds me, I don't know, the worst part of soccer, and there are plenty of bad parts. This thing about soccer? Yeah, that seems to happen all the time. It's not really a good look to whine to the teacher because your political opponent said something mean to you. How about be smart and clever and either turn it around on them in some way or ignore them or, I don't know, practice responding to unfair attacks because you're going to get a lot more of them and a lot tougher ones if you actually become leader. I didn't really care one way or another about Kerr Helios' letter. I liked it, fair enough. But I sure am disappointed with the cancel culture of the party now, and that Erin O'Toole thought deplatforming his opponent was better or easier than beating his opponent. That ain't going to be how it works if you become the leader of the party, Erin. You won't be able to run to mummy to make your younger brother stop pulling your pigtails. You're going to have to learn how to fight. So yeah, the two most interesting candidates were removed because they were too interesting in ways the party didn't like, and they didn't trust party members to throw them out. So who are the four that are left? I've interviewed Les Lynn Lewis twice, and she's a very nice lady, and she destroys stereotypes about the party, but Going from running a law firm to running a party and then hopefully running a whole country, doing that in one leap is too much. I mean, it worked for Donald Trump, but he's one in a billion. He, in so many ways, already had been a national figure and had an enormous presence. He was a household name. He's a force of nature, and that's the presidential system anyways. Our parliamentary and party system is just different. I just don't think it's going to work, and though I like Leslie Lewis very much, I just don't think she's ready for the roughest, toughest political game in the country. Now, she's done very well, and it's too late to count anyone out. She's raised a lot of money. Anyone who made the final cut has. Here's what I hope. I hope she runs in a winnable riding as a Conservative MP. I hope she wins. I hope she gets smarter and tougher and more experienced as an MP, smoother at answering questions, more practiced. Maybe in 4 years after that, if the Conservatives ever win, she'll be ready for cabinet. And maybe 4 years after that, she's still young. Maybe she will be a formidable and powerful and well-known political force then. So I can't honestly say I think she's ready for the big job, but she absolutely should run for a medium job that could turn into a big job. How about Derrick Sloan? I like him too, and I like that he had some courage to call out Trudeau and the United Nations and the World Health Organization, and I like the fact that he was swamped and mobbed by haters and didn't seem to bend the knee. If you missed it, Sloan simply said what I had said and countless other Canadians had said. Dr. Theresa Tam is in a terrible conflict of interest, working for both the World Health Organization and for the Government of Canada. You can't do both.
Theresa Tam followed the World Health Organization every step along the way. She accused Canadians who were concerned about this virus initially for being racist. She also suggested that travel bans were unnecessary. And as late as January 14th, she suggested that human-to-human transmission of the coronavirus was not happening when very credible evidence suggested that it was.
Yeah, that's not racist to say that, of course, but the left and the deplatformers would say it's racist just to shut you up. What disappoints me again so much is that it was Conservative MPs and staffers who joined the denunciation of Sloan, and they tried to deplatform him. I'm frankly surprised he wasn't kicked out too by this secret committee of the party. I don't think Derrick Sloan has the team or the money or the national network or the household name to beat the Liberals either. I mean, maybe, and the fact that he didn't immediately fold when a little Twitter mob came against him is a very good sign. That's actually my favorite thing about him. It's the rarest thing. It's a slightly Trumpy thing. He doesn't bend the knee to the leftist mob. So what about the last two? Aaron O'Toole and Peter MacKay, both are low energy. Both feel like also-rans, retreads, reheated leftovers from last night's dinner. The B list, maybe even the C list. People who would surely not be anyone's first choice. But we have to have someone, right? Peter MacKay's been out of politics, making money and at a Toronto law firm and raising a family. That sounds like a pretty nice path in life, don't you think? I know politics is in his family blood, but he so clearly lacks the fire. He doesn't even care, it feels like. He's not even following the news, it seems to me. His social media campaign is clearly not even being written by him, obviously. It's being quirky and odd, and I'm not talking about how weird it looks. I'm talking about the fact that it has been so content-free, and the odd time MacKay, or whoever's writing it, takes a stand on something, he immediately backs down at the first breeze of pushback. That's the lack of courage, surrendering at the first puff of resistance from the CBC. MacKay faces backlash over now deleted tweet that critics say promoted vigilantism. It's the second social media controversy this month for the Conservative leadership candidate. Yeah, no, he didn't call for vigilantism. Here's exactly what he said. Glad to see a couple Albertans with a pickup truck can do more for our economy in an afternoon than Justin Trudeau could do in 4 years. He was talking about our friends out there who simply and peacefully and quietly and politely cleared off some dangerous junk that was blocking a railroad track when police and politicians in the courts wouldn't. That's not vigilantism. That is literally picking up the garbage at the side of the railway and clearing it away. That's environmentalism, Alberta style. Imagine thinking that tweet was edgy, and then imagine then thinking it was too edgy, and then imagine taking it down in shame, thereby admitting it was too much. Trump? What would Trump have done? You know what he would have done. He would have doubled down, tripled down, given the CBC a nickname, retweeted some funny internet meme, then he went farther. He would have made the leftist media go into a tizzy about it, knowing that severely normal Canadians would be cheering for him, knowing that the media would be providing him with free PR, knowing that he would be building his brand in two ways. First, MacKay would then be someone who's not afraid of the media. Why wouldn't that be refreshing? And second, someone who was against those blockades and thus pro-law and order and pro-Alberta. What a missed opportunity. Instead, it was a gaffe. He should have flipped it around and said, that's not a gaffe. That's exactly who I am. Yeah, he's not who that is, though. Get it's not even the substance of it. It's the weakness. It's the flip-floppiness. That's Andrew Shearer disease. And it's clearly spread throughout the whole party. And Aaron O'Toole, he came in third in the 2017 party leadership race. He got just over 10% in the first ballot. By the time he dropped off, 11 or 12 ballots later, whatever, he had just over 21%. So he didn't really light the party on fire back then, but he had a name of sorts and a track record of sorts. I'm a bit concerned about the Waleed Solomon thing because personnel is policy, and I'm a bit worried about Solomon's influence on O'Toole. But that's not what really worries me about O'Toole. The 5-alarm fire for me is that O'Toole, a former military man who has obviously shown courage in his personal life, as in his previous career, he was in the Air Force, he flew search and rescue helicopters. That's courage. He got a law degree, he got into politics. Politics is actually his family business too. He looks pretty good on paper. It's a bit boring, that's okay. So is Stephen Harper. But since when does a man of character whine to get a rival knocked off the ballot? I tell you about that because I focus on that because it shows what he's going to be like. And he is what he is already like. Now, we've invited him to come on Rebel News to talk with us, as a number of other candidates have already talked with us. But he refuses. That could be Waleed Solomon's advice. But the decision is ultimately the candidate's decision. But should a candidate only talk to people he agrees with? Can you not handle different ideas or firm questions from another point of view? I say again, if you can't handle Rebel News, you're not going to be able to handle the Liberal Party plus the media party. This isn't vanity for me. I have 100 things I could talk about on any given day. I don't need the moral approval of some slightly known C-list politician to feel validated. If I'm being 100% candid, I don't think any of these four contestants is ever going to be Prime Minister. I'm sorry to say it. It's not even sour grapes. It's me thinking, what a shame that so-called conservatives have been so conditioned to be scared of engaging with real conservative media or real conservative interest groups. And by the way, here at Rebel News, we're moderate in the whole constellation of conservative grassroots activists in Canada. What a shame that the party is simply writing off a huge swath of its base, whether it's because the party is no longer conservative, could be, or whether the party simply doesn't want the media to say mean things about it. That's probably it. I mean, I remember when Jordan Peterson, our old friend, was interviewed by the CBC after we had helped Jordan Peterson. We promoted his book. We crowdfunded some funding for, I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago now. So Jordan Peterson, world star, like the hottest book in the English language, global superstar, selling out rock concert-sized venues to give philosophy lectures, and the CBC finally lands an interview. Wow, they could talk to him about anything. The very first question they put to him was, why do you talk to Rebel News?
Speaking out against the federal bill, C-16, and gender pronouns and so on, the federal government cut your funding for research. Rebel Media came in and did a crowdfunding project for you, raised about $200,000. After Charlottesville and the riots, the protests there, many people cut ties with Rebel Media, including the Conservative leader Andrew Shearer, saying that it could be seen as giving hate groups a platform. You still go on there, so I'm wondering, why do you go on Rebel Media after Charlottesville?
Now, Jordan Peterson was surprised by how stupid that question is. But Aaron O'Toole and Peter MacKay and Andrew Shearer aren't surprised by how stupid that question is. They know all about it. They know that the mean girls in the media party will be mean to them if they dare to talk firmly about railroad blockades or call for restricted immigration or stand firm for lawful firearms, or especially if anyone criticizes Saint Greta Thunberg. And coming on Rebel News is a way of signaling to the world that you're at least open to those conversations and those issues. That's what worries me the most, is it's O'Toole and MacKay have signaled to the media political establishment, don't worry about us, we'll be barely conservatives, sort of conservatives, we'll really be blue liberals. We'll be flippable conservatives on anything important. We'll abandon our values at the first whiff of gunpowder like MacKay did on the blockades tweet. They're saying they're more comfortable with Rosemary Barton, the CBC host and nuisance plaintiff who literally sued the Conservative Party in the middle of the last election campaign. She was recovering. She was the debate moderator suing the Conservatives. And that's fine for the Conservatives. Imagine going along with that. but you won't talk to the rebel. Unbelievable. That tells you everything you need to know. So she's polite company in Conservative Party circles, but a truly conservative media outlet with 1.3 million subscribers and a huge Canadian following. Well, that's just too crazy. Yeah, no, it's a rebel litmus test. If you're not comfortable even saying hello to me or Sheila Gunn Reid or David Menzies or Cian Bexley on camera, but you're dying to get on Rosemary Barton's Christmas card list, you just might be doing conservatism wrong. I should note that both Leslie Lewis and Derrick Sloan have positively talked about their belief in free speech and about rebel news, and I very much appreciate that. I just wish that they had more horsepower and could win and take back the country. I just wish it was, but I don't think it is. That wishy-washiness didn't really work out for Andrew Shearer, and I don't think it'll work out for the equally uninspiring successor if it's McKay or O'Toole. I hope I'm wrong on all this stuff, but don't bet on it. In the meantime, yeah, go join the Conservative Party if you can find the website, and go vote for the least worst candidate. Good luck, if you're still allowed to, by the secret committee. And we'll keep doing our best here at Rebel News. Our best to keep the fires burning for true conservatism, to talk about issues and conservative ideas that the party does, and we'll be active where the party is, and we'll stand up for civil liberties during this time of the virus. That's another example of a missed political opportunity for these candidates, don't you think? So yeah, of course I hope Justin Trudeau loses the next election. Of course I hope a conservative wins. But hope ain't going to do it alone. It's not enough. And I'm not sure that this party will do enough either. That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.